Is that an electric dog?
Aye.
Aye. Took one of their new ones.